All right, I believe we should be live right now. Let me know if you can hear me and everything. Obviously, I am not Casey Porter. My name is Austin Brubaker. We don't have any of the fancy tricks that we normally have. We just have my normal at-home background. But we are here on Dodgers Dawgs live Monday night. Excited for this. This is a little bit of a sneak peek of a show that's going to be coming out Monday nights. We'll be talking about this. The reason that we're going on live tonight, I actually wasn't planning on doing live. I was just taught everything of how this is working. My computer is operating on this program for the very first time today, getting everything set up. So we talked over that about around lunchtime. Then all of a sudden, the news came out. The Dodgers are not done. They have brought back Kike Hernandez to the organization. He is once again a Dodger. They had to make a corresponding move because all of their 13 spots on the position player side were filled. Manny Margot is now a Minnesota Twin. What does that mean? What does that mean for the Dodgers? What does that mean for Minnesota? And that is not the only moves. Doncon, somebody that we've talked about quite a bit, somebody who is a friend of the show, is now a Minnesota Twin. Noah Miller is a Dodger, another shortstop prospect. We'll be talking about him. We'll be talking about Kike Hernandez. We'll be talking a little bit about spring training, the game that went on today, some of the highlights that you're seeing. It's going to be a fun show. It's going to be a show for you guys. As Casey has always said, you guys are the absolute best. It's going to be my first time being here on Dodgers Dawgs by myself, so I'd appreciate a little bit of grace in here. I'll get to all the comments that I can. We'll be talking a lot about Dodgers baseball. We'll be talking a lot about analytics. We'll be talking about Kike Hernandez and Manny Margot. So the question that I have for you guys: do you like the Kike Hernandez Manny Margot swap? Which one of those guys would you prefer? Are you excited that Kike Hernandez is back? Are you disappointed that Manny Margot isn't going to play a regular season game this season for the Dodgers? Would you have done that move if you are Andrew Friedman? And about the Doncon, Noah Miller. If you guys have any idea who those guys are, do you like that move as well? And also, in addition to that, what are just some of your overall thoughts from spring training? It's been a fun, exciting spring training. Dodgers just can't seem to lose right now. It is a lot of fun, a lot of excitement happening in the world of the Dodgers. But the biggest headline right now, Kike Hernandez is back. The Dodgers have made a pivot. They're going back to Kike Hernandez. Manny Margot is no longer a Dodger. He is a Minnesota Twin. What does that mean? We'll be talking about that tonight. But let's go ahead and get into the comment section first. Welcome, Harley Anderson. Great, Austin, is what he said. Craig Osterberg, thank you very much for joining. I know he leaves a lot of comments on all different Dodgers YouTube channels, and he is sure to show his support, show his appreciation. Very much appreciate that. So Craig, welcome. Mr. John Rod 77, good evening, Austin, and is very excited to see you back as well as Gregory, who says good evening. Casey is not here tonight. If you're just joining, he is busy tonight, so he taught me a little bit earlier today how to do this, which means all the fancy backgrounds and stuff haven't been sorted out. I won't have any sort of video of any of these prospects tonight or show any video for any of the games. I'm sorry about that, but we are going to have a lot of fun. There's a lot to talk about tonight, so thank you for joining. Justin Lamas, thank you for joining. He says, good evening, mate. Daryl Jackson, thank you for joining as well. Showtime LA really started to worry about Vargas and Barnes. Yeah, we will get into that talk. We'll be talking a little bit about spring training. Obviously, it's been a bit of a struggle for Austin Barnes, and this is something that we've seen through the course of quite a while, just the offensive struggles that he has. Last year, obviously, was a very disappointing year for him offensively. He was almost unusable at the plate. The reason that you want to keep an Austin Barnes, if you're still arguing for keeping Austin Barnes on this team, has to do with his leadership and his defensive ability. And if he's not able to provide those, it becomes a question as far as whether you want to keep him part of this team. I will say this most recent move with Kike Hernandez is an indication that this team really does value the culture of this organization and they want to have culture fits. Kike Hernandez is a culture fit. He's one of those guys that you can see dancing around in the clubhouse, being a good, positive energy provider to this team. And you saw that with Kike Hernandez and his performance this last season when he rejoined the team. A player like an Austin Barnes provides a little bit of similarity to that in the fact that he has been around this club for a long time. He has been part of this organization, and he has been an important part of helping these pitchers out. The question is, do you want to move on from an Austin Barnes? And the question is, whom do you want to see replace him? Could it be a Hunter Fiducia? Do you believe a Hunter Fiducia is ready and that if he gets maybe 1 or 2 starts a week, is that going to be enough to have him be fully developed and ready to be called up to the big leagues? I think that is the biggest question with a guy like Hunter Fiducia, who has done a lot, who has earned opportunities, had a big opposite field double today. That was really exciting to see. I'm excited to see what Hunter Fiducia is going to be able to do. The question is, are you willing to move on to Hunter Fiducia from Austin Barnes? And then talking about Vargas as well, really starting to get worried about Vargas. I'm still have a lot of confidence. I'm assuming you're talking about Miguel Vargas, so we'll go ahead in that direction. Miguel Vargas is one of those guys Casey and I have talked about quite a bit. Last spring training, he was hurt. He didn't get that opportunity. And then last season, he did get the opportunity that we want and fight for with a lot of these prospects. Yet, it didn't work out for Miguel Vargas. He really struggled this past season, got sent down. Now he's working to fight for an opportunity. And with this move, Manny Margot moving on, Kike Hernandez moving in, that likely limits the opportunity for a Miguel Vargas to get into this mix. At least initially. Injuries will occur. Obviously not rooting for injuries at all. We really don't want to see that. But with Miguel Vargas, he's one of those guys who's going to continue to fight for a spot. He's going to be playing a lot of left field, which I'm excited. I think that is the best for Miguel Vargas because I think that's going to create the biggest opportunity for him to go and be called up into the show. I think because there's going to be outfield spots open, even with this move from Manny Margot to Kike Hernandez, Miguel Vargas is still going to have an opportunity in the future to make it to this roster. Be patient. Not all of these guys are going to work out to make it to the big leagues. Yet the skill set that Miguel Vargas has shown with his hitting ability, with all of that, with his plate discipline, with his opposite field approach, if he can just tap into that a little bit more with a little bit more consistency, I think that bodes well for Miguel Vargas into the future. This is going to be a huge year for him. It's going to be a huge year for Miguel Vargas, for Andy Pages, and for Jose Ramos, who are all right now fighting to be part of the future of the Dodgers outfield, which is why they're getting a lot of opportunities, as well as guys like a Ryan Ward, who we saw how exciting was that the other day on Saturday, I believe it was, when he got that big 2-out bases clearing double to put the Dodgers up 3 runs. Those are the type of moments that we get to see in the minor leagues, and it's one of those things where, man, it's a spring training game. It really shouldn't mean that much. But you saw just the grittiness of the young Dodgers prospects to be able to go out and perform, and Ryan Ward was able to deliver. And then Drew Avens, how about that today? How about that RBI by, I believe it was Rushing on that ground ball, which it seemed like a normal ground ball to shortstop, and then got thrown out at first base. But Drew Avens, that wasn't just a normal play. He has super amount of grit. He has a lot of guts. And he is a true baseball player. So we took that as an opportunity to go ahead and take home plate. That was really exciting. So I get your concern, Miguel Vargas, Austin Barnes. This roster isn't perfect, and hardly any rosters are. You want to try to make this roster as best as you can. You want to try to create this culture as best as you can. It is early in spring training. You can't take away too much from these guys struggling or succeeding in spring training, and it's early. These guys are trying to just go out there and be healthy, get some swings in, and get it back into the flow of things. It is a little bit concerning with both of those players. So I appreciate the comment. Showtime LA, one of our great followers and participants here at Dodgers Daily. Again, if you have not liked this video yet, be sure to like it, or if you haven't subscribed, we would greatly appreciate that. We're already having a great crowd tune in. It is a lot of fun here, including I have one of my buddies, the Domino, who just a little bit behind the scenes. I'm here in the great state of Michigan, and Domino and I get to go to a lot of Great Lakes Loons games here, and he's got an incredible sense of humor. He says, tonight we'll see if Austin is the best one-man band since Heath Slater, which is WWE reference in case you don't know. I greatly appreciate that, Domino. That's greatly appreciated, and thank you very much. So we have some other people tuning in. We have Tommy Price, just letting us know that he can hear me. Thank you very much for that. Gregory's joined us as well. One-Eyed Dragon, thank you for joining us as well. Justin Lamas, are they done making moves? They could still move Kershaw to the 60-day IL. That is a really good question as far as, are the Dodgers done making moves? Because I thought from the position player side, the Dodgers were all set, and they could have been content and all set. It could have been something where they were content with a Jason Hayward and a Manny Margot platoon in the outfield. That could have been something that they were very content, very happy with, and I think the Dodgers would have appreciated the production that both of those guys would have contributed to this team. Yet they decided to flip to it. So let's go ahead and dive into a little bit of the Kike Hernandez versus Manny Margot. Before we get into some of the other possible moves that they could make, let's try to evaluate why the Dodgers would try to make this move in the first place. So Manny Margot was a guy that was brought into the Dodgers organization from Tampa Bay. He was part of the Tyler Glasnow trade for a Ryan Pepiot and Johnny DeLuca, and he was that Johnny DeLuca type of replacement. But really the key of that deal was Tyler Glasnow. Tyler Glasnow was an ace as a part of your staff that you could rely upon. He's one of these guys who the Dodgers are going to rely upon in big moments, in big postseason environments. And he was an ace that the Dodgers didn't have at that point. I'm trying to remember if it was before the Yamamoto signing or after. There's been so many great signings for the Dodgers. Dodgers very clearly needed good, elite pitching on their team, and Tyler Glasnow provided that. Now, as a way to get that trade moving from the Rays, they received Manny Margot as well, who is a good, talented, solid player. Yet this is exactly what the Rays do. They are looking for ways to innovate, and they're looking for ways to provide a more affordable team that is younger, that is hungrier, and has more team control. And they got two really good, talented players as a part of that deal, and Ryan Pepiot and Johnny DeLuca. So I'm really excited to see both of those guys succeed in Tampa Bay. I know they're fighting a lot in spring training, which, by the way, if you haven't spent a lot of time on Rays Twitter, they did a video specifically of Ryan Pepiot, so I would highly recommend checking that out. But Manny Margot was brought over to this Dodgers team as that fourth player, as that second player as part of the deal back to the Dodgers, but as that player who has a lot of veteran experience, has been solid as a player, yet has one more year of club control and might be a club option as well. More of a fourth outfielder type of outfielder. Maybe you can have him be in a starter role, and especially with this Dodgers team, with how loaded they are, you could envision them potentially having him be part of this team as a platoon type option with Jason Hayward. He is better against left-handed pitching, and with Jason Hayward facing mostly or almost exclusively right-handed pitching, it would make sense. Manny Margot, good defensive outfielder. He's going to provide you anywhere between an 85 to 105, maybe 110 WRC plus, meaning he's going to be right around league average, probably slightly below league average when you take the cumulative work of what he's able to do against right-handed and left-handed pitching, which for what this Dodgers team has when they have an Ohtani, when they have a Mookie Betts, when they have a Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Will Smith, Teoscar Hernandez, the list goes on and on and on. You can live with that, especially with Manny Margot and the defense he provides. Yet, the Dodgers decided to move on from Manny Margot. They decided that Kike Hernandez was a better fit to this Dodgers team than Manny Margot. Now, before we get into, let's ask ourselves, why would Kike be the guy that the Dodgers choose over a Manny Margot? Because this is the question, and this is something that has been debated quite a bit on Dodgers Twitter. This has been something that Dodgers fans have been talking a lot about. Do you go with a Manny Margot or do you go with a Kike Hernandez? And very honest, very open question, because Kike Hernandez has been part of this Dodgers team for quite a while, or at least was part of the initial runs for a long time, then moved on to Boston. He had a really good 2021. He was above league average on the offensive component. He could play a lot of different positions. He was a huge part of that postseason run that the Boston Red Sox had to the American League Championship Series that year. Then the past couple of years in 2022 and 2023 for the Boston Red Sox, Kike Hernandez really did struggle quite a bit. He had closer to a 70 WRC plus. Defensively, he was not as strong. He was pretty solid when he was in center field, yet his positional versatility when going elsewhere really deteriorated. It wasn't until the Dodgers in the 2023 trade deadline decided to make the move and return back to a player that they have known, where they really got to see Kike Hernandez become Kike again. And when during his time for the Dodgers, when he returned back to them, that is when his offensive production really started to click again. And especially early, right when he got back, right when all of the, oh man, this is how baseball is supposed to be. This is how baseball is supposed to feel like. That kind of energy returned. He had a 98 WRC plus during his tenure with the Dodgers, which with his defensive versatility is something that is incredibly valuable, incredibly appreciated from the Dodgers, and something that you will hold on to if you get a player like that. Not also including his career ability to hit into the postseason. He has an 893 OPS in the postseason. We've seen him come up in big moments. Who can forget Game 7 of the National League Championship Series when he hits that game-tying home run that really helped elevate the Dodgers over the Braves in that series. Kike Hernandez, it just feels right for him to be a Dodger. Yet, perhaps there could be some statistical concerns with him because over the past couple of seasons, he has been a player that has struggled quite a bit, who has been almost a negative WAR type of player. You're talking about 2022. He had 0.4 WAR, and that has most to do with his offense having a 74 WRC plus. And then in 2023, last season, he had a negative 1.3 Fangraphs WAR. So there is definite signs for concern with Kike Hernandez. Is he the same player that he was? Was that just a lucky streak that he was on when he joined the Dodgers in 2023? Or is there something different about this culture that turns Kike Hernandez into a different type of player? I think that is going to be a very real, very serious question. Last year, he really did struggle not only offensively, defensively as well. He was one of the worst defenders according to outs above average. That could just be a 1-year blip, and that could be a lot because he was playing a lot in the infield. I think he's going to be a little bit better if you position him a little bit more in the outfield. I think that's going to be a better role for him. Overall, the Dodgers, looking at everything, and despite all of the rumors, Kike Hernandez could be a twin. He could be a giant. He could be any of the other rivals for the Dodgers. He is not any of those. He is coming back to the Dodgers. The Dodgers decided to move on from Manny Margot, who was the guy that if the Dodgers were going to move on from somebody, it was going to be Manny Margot on the offensive side. So that was definitely a surprise to me. Now becomes the question of what's next, because this organization always seems to be looking for what is next. And that is a very good question, because I was not anticipating this most recent move, which means the Dodgers could make any type of move. However, I think if you're looking at this team, I think if you're looking at this club, the way that we've been seeing it, Casey and I have, which if you're just joining us now, Casey is unavailable tonight, so this is my first time joining the stream, so I'm very excited that you guys were able to join here at Dodgers Dawgs. I think the Casey and I have been pointing out that if the Dodgers were going to make a move, I think it's going to be more on the pitching side. Now the question is it starting pitching, or is it more in the relief pitching market? And I think the X factor right now has to do with the health and well-being of Walker Buehler. What are you going to get out of Walker Buehler? Is he going to be ready? Is he going to be healthy? And the question is, when is he going to be ready? We've heard a lot about him coming back. We expect him to come back and be that ace level. And we even anticipated him having a little bit of a delay to the start of the season. There has been some rumblings. There has been some rumors about him potentially having a little bit of a setback. I'm not exactly sure what that is. That is just stuff that I'm seeing on Twitter. Again, I don't have any inside information into the organization. But I think the health and readiness of Walker Buehler is going to determine what this club, what this organization does next. Do they go attack that? Do they go after a relief pitcher? We've talked a lot about guys that can get left-handed pitchers out, or left-handed hitters out, I should say. Because if you look up and down the Dodgers bullpen, they have a lot of guys that are better at getting right-handed hitters out than left-handed hitters. You don't have a ton of solid MLB-proven reliable left-handed relievers. There's a lot of really good, talented guys that have been part of this bullpen, which we can talk about. Alex Vesia is fighting for a spot. Justin Wilson, who's brought in recently, is fighting for a spot. Ryan Yarbrough, who we saw today, is fighting to keep a spot either in the relief role or in the starting rotation. Don't be surprised if the Dodgers decide to go with an all-veteran type of rotation, all-veteran type of team. This is something that they seem to do quite a bit. They seem to rely heavily on their veterans. Could Ryan Yarbrough, instead of being a long-inning relief pitcher, what if he is the Dodgers' answer right now to the fifth starting pitcher, at least to start the season? It could be an option. It is not my go-to or favorite option, but that is something that the Dodgers could decide to do. Now, as far as the biggest need, what I think the biggest need for the Dodgers right now probably would be maybe a guy that can get left-handed hitters out. Although, as I've stated before, I'm not sure if it is in the best interest of the organization right now to be trading away a lot of your trade pieces to go after some of these really good, talented, blue-chip type of deals. I think it is better to wait, because there's going to be a lot of unanswered questions that show up through the course of the season, and you don't know exactly how that is going to how your team is going to be able to respond to that. What happens if a Gavin Lux isn't ready at shortstop? What happens if there's an injury to one of your key players? What happens if Will Smith goes down with an injury? What is your backup plan there? You need to have guys that trade chips that are available for when your club needs it, especially when you are as all in as the Dodgers are. So right now, you're still going to win a lot of games in April. We've seen them in spring training, even though, again, it is spring training right now. They're still winning a lot of games in spring training. It seems like they can't lose right now because they haven't lost yet. They are still a really good, talented club. They're going to win regardless. So right now, I'm not anticipating a move to be just right there or inevitable. It will come eventually. The question is when and what direction do they make that move? And I don't know the answer to that. I don't think any move is imminent, but it is very exciting to talk about the Dodgers. It's very exciting to talk about the Dodgers offseason and any sort of moves that they make, and we are doing that here live Monday night here on Dodgers Dawgs. I'm really excited to be here to be able to put on this show tonight. If you're just tuning in, Casey is not here, just me tonight. This is actually a little bit of a sneak peek of what will be happening Monday nights through the course of this season. We'll get a little bit fancier. I'm sure we'll have a little bit of a different background. I'm sure we'll have video access. But during the course of the season, Casey is taking Mondays off, which is good because he can't do this every single day without burning himself out. I will be taking the reins Monday nights. We'll be talking a lot about the Dodgers. We will be talking a lot about the High A affiliate of the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Great Lakes Loons, which I do have some merch on, so shout out to the Loons. We'll be talking a lot about analytics. We'll be having some fun. This is a little bit of a sneak peek of what is going to be happening Monday nights. But let's go ahead and get back into the comment section here. Justin Lamas, that was a question for you. Thank you very much for joining. Aaron Vaughn, thank you very much for joining and for pointing out the great camera that we have. It is one that I actually have been using, but typically what we do is I have a digital background, which usually takes down some of the quality. So let me know if you would prefer to just have the normal standard background that I have tonight, or would you like me to have a little bit more of a digital background? I haven't figured out how to make any sort of change to the background, so I haven't completely made up my mind right there. But I appreciate the compliment. And so we got another comment from the Damino. As a hardcore Loons fan, I'm glad we got a Colonels player. That's a really good segue into the next topic that we have, which had to do with it. It wasn't just Manny Margot going to the Twins. There was a much more of a full package to this. It was Manny Margot and Rain Doncon, which we will talk about him. We've actually pretty recently talked about Donkey, Rain Doncon in the live streams. I know Casey has brought him up quite a bit. It was Manny Margot, Rain Doncon, and I believe $4 to $6 million. I don't remember the exact total of the financials headed back to Minnesota. But in return, the Dodgers got a prospect by the name of Noah Miller. Now, a lot of you guys probably have never heard of Noah Miller before. He's a guy who had come from the draft of 2021, was a compensation pick, meaning he was just outside of the first round, I believe, from Minnesota. They decided to take a good, solid shortstop. And I got a chance to see him just briefly this past season during the Midwest League Championship. So the Midwest League Championship, Midwest League is a league in High A, a couple steps away from Major League Baseball. That is the level at which the Great Lakes Loons, the High A affiliate of the Dodgers, play. And they got to participate in the Midwest League Championship against the Minnesota Twins High A affiliate, Cedar Rapids Colonels. If you haven't had a chance to go watch that series was incredible. Just unreal, the competitive spirit that both of those teams had. Dalton Rushing greatly performed, had several home runs. If I'm not mistaken, had 3 home runs during that 3-game series. It was crazy. The first game, unfortunately, ended in heartbreak for the Loons, who gave up a home run with the lead late in that game. Game 2, Justin Robleski, starts pitching just dominating on the club, gets interrupted by a rainout. The next game the remainder of the game is taking place the next day with, if the Loons win, a 7-game deciding Game 3. And the Loons won Game 2 and then unfortunately fell short in Game 3. So the Colonels won the championship in the Midwest League this past season. Why do I go out and tell that story? The starting shortstop and the leadoff hitter in that series was Noah Miller. The shortstop for the Cedar Rapids Colonels is now a Dodger. Now, if you look at the overall grand picture of a lot of his offensive numbers, they might not look too incredibly pretty. Do a little bit of digging and look at it a little bit in terms of how he was doing late in the season, because there's a reason why with the team of Emmanuel Rodriguez, with the Midwest League MVP Kalai Rosario, with Andrew Cossetti, with all of the great Twins prospects that made up that stacked Cedar Rapids Kernels, there's a reason why Noah Miller was in that leadoff spot during that late part and stretch of the season. He's a really good, talented shortstop. First off, let's talk about him just defensively. He moves around really good. He's really good with the glove. He's good with his footwork. He's one of the better defensive prospects out there, or at least was really solid for the Twins for the Colonels this past season. Just seeing a lot of his plays, he moves really well, so I anticipate him to move really well for the Dodgers when he becomes part of this organization. Played a little bit of second, but was primarily shortstop, played 107 different games. And just looking at the overall season stats for him, he batted 223, 309, 340, which equaled, surprisingly enough, if you're not familiar with the Midwest League, an 85 WRC plus. He walked quite a bit, was a little bit better than league average with 11% walk percentage, struck out a little bit below league average, 20.5%, meaning he was a little bit better at avoiding strikeouts. The overall numbers are decent, and with a good value that he brings defensively in shortstop, there's a lot of reason to be excited. However, if you look at him from August 1st until the end of the season, which let me go ahead and pull up some of these numbers really quick. August 1st until the end of the season for Noah Miller with him on the Cedar Rapids Colonels, he was able to hit 256. Looking at some of the advanced numbers, he had a 126 WRC plus from August until the end of the season. 256, 361, 444. He had a 14.3 walk percentage, 19% strikeout percentage. His ISO rose all the way from in the 110s to 185 during the course of the last month and a half. So Noah Miller was able to find a lot in that last month to where he became a good, solid, productive, reliable hitter, and he became the guy that led off the Midwest League champion Cedar Rapids Colonels. It's kind of sick for me to say that as a Loons fan and as somebody who sat and watched the entire celebration, watched them celebrate on the field until they all left. That makes me a little sick. But it is exciting to see the Dodgers get a player with the talent of a Noah Miller, who I got to see a little bit. I'm excited to see what he's able to do. I'll be interested to see what the plan for him is, whether they start him at high A again, or if they move him to be a part of T.Y. Taylor Young and Alex Freeland, who you guys have had the chance to see in Dodgers uniform in spring training recently. That's been certainly exciting. I don't know if the plan is for him to move up with that class, maybe have Noah Miller split some time with an Alex Freeland at short, maybe have Alex Freeland take a little bit more of reps at third base, who I know Casey has mentioned he likes him a lot at third base. There's a lot of really good ideas of how the Dodgers could operate. There's a need for shortstop and third base prospects at the upper levels of the minor leagues. There's some really good, talented guys that can fill into those positions. Noah Miller was able to add some depth to this organization, and he showed some real promise during the last portion of 2023, led his team to the Midwest League Championship, provided a little bit more power with great plate discipline. And if he's able to continue that type of level of production, it will be incredibly exciting to see what he's able to do. I'm sure Casey is going to be able to get some video on him for the next stream, which will be Wednesday night. I'm sure I'll be live with Casey on Wednesday night. So if you're looking for some actual footage of Noah Miller, anticipate that to possibly come and likely come on Wednesday night. I'm excited to see, do a little bit more of a deep dive into him. He is a good, talented prospect. But the Dodgers also lost or decided to trade a really good, talented prospect, somebody who I've actually identified as a guy who could be a little bit of a riser in this system, and that is Doncon. He is somebody who spent a lot of time in Rancho Cucamonga this past season. If you look at just the overall numbers, which I do have some of his numbers right here, had a 76 WRC plus. Now you might look at that and say, okay, the offensive production just isn't there. But if you go ahead and do a little bit of a deep dive, look at some of his numbers, there is room to say that Doncon is a good, talented player and might have gotten a little bit unlucky. He did that through the course of 473 plate appearances. He was able to hit for a little bit of power, a little bit below average walk percentage, but a strikeout percentage right around league average, so there's good skills there. He only had a 248 batting average on balls in play, which batting average on balls in play is a really good indicator as far as whether you expect a player to regress to more of what the type of player he should be, or could have gotten a little bit unlucky. And I think with Doncon, he got a little bit unlucky with that. The average batting average on balls in play is around 300. So if you see a player that is well below 300, 248, and he's the type of player who can get line drives, who can hit the ball pretty hard, you anticipate that to reverse back closer to 300, meaning the 76 WRC plus might have been influenced by the 248 batting average on balls in play. So I looked at that and identified Doncon as a player who could bounce back because of that. Similar how in 2022, Austin Gauthier, when he came over to Great Lakes towards the end of the season, had closer to a 200 batting average on balls in play, yet he had really good plate discipline numbers. He was still doing good at the plate. Once that rebounded, we've seen the growth that Austin Gauthier has able to have. And last season, through May, so April and May in Doncon, 105 WRC plus, showed good power, was able to move around second, third, and short. So I expect Doncon to be one of those players we look back on and say, yeah, Doncon was able to do some great, really good things for the Minnesota Twins. And I'm honestly excited to see what they're able to do with him. I'm not excited about him because I think he's going to spend some time in a Cedar Rapids Colonels uniform. And I think it's very likely that he could use that power that we've talked about and use that against the Dodgers, use that as a little bit of revenge against the Great Lakes Loons, and especially somebody who's experienced heartbreak, Colonels versus Loons, that I'm not really looking forward to. But tracking the career of Doncon, there's the opportunity in this organization is limited, and he's still quite a ways away. He's very talented, he's very good, versatile, has a ton of pop, has a little bit of plate discipline as well. I wish Doncon, and I know Casey would as well, the best of luck in Minnesota. I'm excited to see what Noah Miller is able to do. I'm excited that Kike Hernandez is once again a Los Angeles Dodger. And of course, Manny Margot, wish him the best in luck in Minnesota. So it's been a great show here on Dodgers Dawgs. Live on Monday night. If you haven't done so yet, I would very much appreciate leaving a like on this video, leaving some comments, subscribing if you haven't done so. This is a great, fun community that we have on Dodgers Dawgs here at Dodgers Daily, part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Very greatly appreciate each one of you guys and the support that you guys have shown this channel. This is a brand new experience for me, doing this live by myself for the first time. I need a little bit of water very quick before we get back into the comments section. Alright, so we have a comment from One Eye Dragon. It says, sign a Rosarena. I'm assuming you're talking about Randy Arozarena, who is part of the Tampa Bay Rays organization right now. He is under team control for, I believe, 3 more seasons. And very early during the offseason, we identified Randy Arozarena as being one of those perfect fits for the club, perfect fits for the organization. One of those guys who could be, or just feels like a Dodger, somebody who fits the club and organization. However, when the club decided to trade for Tyler Glasnow, and they brought back Manny Margot for Ryan Pepio and Johnny DeLuca, I think that eliminated a lot of the need for Randy Arozarena, and especially after the Dodgers made the move to sign Teoscar Hernandez. I think right now with this club, the outfield is full. You have James Outman in center field. You have Teoscar Hernandez likely starting in left field. And you have Jason Hayward in right field. You can throw in Chris Taylor. You can have Teoscar Hernandez move back to right field. Chris Taylor in left. You can have Kike Hernandez play one of the outfield spots. You have positional versatility on this club. You have a lot of really good things right now about this Dodgers organization, where this club is going. Yet, I don't think Randy Arozarena is a realistic option for this club right now. Tampa Bay Rays are still competing. They're still going to do a lot of really good things this upcoming season because they always seem to find some sort of way to win as a club, as a team. Don't count out the Rays as they're going on their way to competing. And it's going to take a lot to get a Randy Arozarena. Would he be a perfect fit for this club? He'd be amazing. Yet, I don't anticipate the Dodgers doing that unless they see a need for an additional outfielder at the trade deadline and they feel comfortable about where their pitching is at. Gavin Lux is succeeding at shortstop. Then you look at this club and say, what is the one thing that we could do to help improve this club? Maybe it's Randy Arozarena at the trade deadline, and that is if and only if the Rays are not competing and they're ready to move on for Randy Arozarena. I think they will be ready to move on for him at some point. I don't anticipate it being now. I don't anticipate it being at the trade deadline. It could be something that happens during the next offseason. Be on the lookout for that, just not yet. And they're not able to sign him right now. They'd have to trade for him. So thank you very much for the comment, One-Eyed Dragon. And so we're going to get to some of the other comments. Craig Osterberg, thank you very much for joining. Says, yes, Kike is better. Clutch in October. And I think that is a really good point. We have just the greatest and the best Dodgers fans out there tuning in to Dodgers Dawgs. So thank you very much for that comment. Yeah, that is a very important point to allude to Kike Hernandez. He has been successful in the postseason. 893 OPS in the postseason. We've seen the clutch, important, big-time moments that Kike Hernandez has provided. And so I think it just goes to a question, do you want that postseason performer who I think over the past couple of seasons, it's fair to say, has dealt with very serious inconsistencies, both offensively and defensively. Past couple of seasons, especially in Boston, he has not performed. And this past season defensively, he did not perform as well. Would you have that type of player with the postseason experience, postseason upside that he has? Or do you want to go to Manny Margot, who is a little bit more of that not amazing, but solid contributor to your club that you only have 1 year of control left, who hasn't been part of this organization? I think Kike being a part of this culture was a huge influence of him becoming a Dodger again, and I think that is one of the reasons why the Dodgers decided to go and turn to Kike Hernandez. Also, its positional versatility. This is the value of being versatile positionally. This is why somebody like an Austin Gauthier is going to be so valuable coming up to this organization, because he possesses these exact same type of positional versatility that a Kike Hernandez or Chris Taylor type of player has. So I think that is something that is incredibly valuable, and he has had big moments in the postseason. The question, when you're talking about an analytical, when you're talking about data perspective, is looking at past postseason success the best indicator for future success? Now, that might be the totally wrong question. It might be the question that you need to ask is past postseason success the best predictor for future postseason success? I know a lot of people, a lot of data analytics people might say no just on the general surface because they would prefer to have the larger sample size, and larger sample size comes from the regular season to try to predict postseason success. But it is no doubt that Kike Hernandez has performed in the postseason. He has been a part of this Dodgers club. And so while they are turning the page over to Shohei Ohtani, they are holding on to some of the core that they have held on to with a Kike Hernandez who has helped this Dodgers club continue to go and be successful. He has been a huge part of this team in the past. And the question is, how much big of a role is he going to have? And how long of a leash are the Dodgers going to give Kike Hernandez to be the type of player that he was for the Dodgers? Because it's going to be a very real question. Are you getting Kike Hernandez 2023 from the Dodgers, which was a solid, right around league average player who can be versatile, who was a clubhouse leader, who was a player that everybody looked up to? Or are you going to get Boston Red Sox Kike Hernandez, who really struggled offensively and defensively? I think that's a fair question and fair assessment to Kike Hernandez, who he is, the type of player he is. But I think the person of Kike Hernandez is going to be great. I think Dodgers fans are going to absolutely love to see him back. It just feels right for Kike Hernandez to be on this team, just like it feels right for Clayton Kershaw to be in the dugouts for the Dodgers and to be working his way back. There are certain moves that you make because it feels right and because you think these guys are going to be successful because they have been successful. And I think that is something that is important, something to look out for is Kike Hernandez and his success going forward, because that is the type of player that the Dodgers need. They need players that can perform in the postseason. You can have as much regular season success as you can, and the Dodgers certainly have a lot of regular season success over the past several seasons. They have not had postseason success and postseason hitters that have stepped up. And so you can either stack them with a whole bunch of players who perform well during the regular season and say they can't possibly fail, all of them can't possibly fail in the postseason, similar to the classic Simpsons episode, the softball episode, where Mr. Burns brings in all of the players, major league players, onto the team and say they can't all possibly get injured. Then through a weird series of events, they all get injured. That very well could happen with the Dodgers, and that very well could happen with organizations that bring in superstar type of rosters. You can attack it that way, or you can have a mix of great players and players that have performed in the postseason, and Kike Hernandez has definitely performed in the postseason, so excited to see what he's able to do. So we're going to get back into the comments right now. So we have the Domino. Honestly, I was really curious to see how Margot would do in a new city. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Margot is going to be able to do, which we were expecting that to be in Los Angeles. Now we'll see what happens in Minnesota. So Gregory has a really good question. Austin, what does your hat represent? This is actually a really good question. So as you can see, I'm wearing my Great Lakes Loons merch right now. It is Great Lakes Loons sweater that I have. My hat actually is a Great Lakes Loons hat, believe it or not. It is their Los Pepinillos Picantes del Norte hat, which means the spicy pickles of the north. And this is something that has been going on with minor league baseball as a good way for Hispanic outreach, as well as a way for teams to go ahead and create alternative identities. We've seen that with the Loons with the Great Lakes Camels. This is just a alternative identity where the Loons 3 nights of the season at Dow Diamond dress up in the Los Pepinillos Picantes uniforms. They wear the Los Pepinillos Picantes hats. It's a little bit of a different theme type night that they have, where instead of the Great Lakes Loons, they are the Los Pepinillos Picantes del Norte. Some of the most fun nights of the year, and they'll be having it this season. I'm sure I'll be at least 2, if not all 3 of those games. So this is a Great Lakes Loons, the high A affiliate of the Dodgers, Los Pepinillos Picantes del Norte hat. So definitely something that I try to rep a lot of the Dodgers organization and a lot of their gear. Showtime LA, thanks again for joining. I would have 100% done the trade. Kike is a great clubhouse guy and proven postseason hitter. Margot didn't get a hit in spring training. I think those are some really good, really solid points, especially that Kike being a great clubhouse guy. There's no doubt that Kike Hernandez is a phenomenal clubhouse guy and a total fit for this Dodgers team, and he has proven in the past that he can perform in the postseason. Margot has hit a little bit in the postseason. He's had his moments. He's had his success, yet it wasn't to the level of degree as a Kike Hernandez. I don't think it's completely fair to say that Margot didn't get a hit in spring training quite yet. It is still very early. Spring training games started half a week ago. There's only been a couple of games. You can't take too much out of a couple of games, especially a couple of very early spring training games. So if a guy is struggling, don't freak out too much. There can be a little bit of cause for concern. However, don't freak out completely. If there is a lot of struggles that a guy has, these guys are working through the process. Their guys are trying to get comfortable with the way that they're swinging the bat, with the way that they're throwing a ball. Look for some of those signs, though. So if somebody does really well, celebrate those performances. And it can be a little bit of cause concern if you're talking about a week or two into spring training, somebody's still really struggling or still hasn't had a hit. But a half a week into spring training, I wouldn't worry about that too much. I think it had more to do with the Dodgers liking the clubhouse fit and potential postseason performance of Kike Hernandez. Will he be the same player that he was towards the end with the Dodgers? I think it's more of a bet, or more of a safer bet, that he will be more of that type of player than he was with the Red Sox last season. We will have to wait and see. It's a great night here on Dodgers Dogs. If you haven't done so, be sure to hit that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. Casey is not here tonight. He's busy tonight, which means this is a preview of what's to come on Monday nights. I will be taking the reins, and I will be going with you guys, talking a lot about Dodgers baseball, talking a lot about Loons baseball. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, as we do here on Dodgers Dogs. Harley Anderson, thank you so much for joining. Margot just didn't seem to fit in and wasn't happy. At least that was what it looked like to me. I don't know exactly how Margot was going. I'm sure it was a new environment. I'm sure he was trying to get acclimated, comfortable to the Dodgers, to their organization. And when you move on to a new team, when you move on to a new organization, there's going to be that awkward period where you're trying to get acclimated, you're trying to get comfortable, you're trying to learn all the new guys. And when it's something where he gets traded to the Dodgers for the first time, I'm sure he was starting to get comfortable around the guys. I don't know Manny Margot personally, and I'm sure the Dodgers were welcome to him and the players were embracing him coming back. I think he just happened to be the odd man out of the equation. You want to have two catchers on this club, so you're going to have to keep Austin Barnes or call up Hunter Fiducia or get another catcher that way. So Kike Hernandez couldn't replace an Austin Barnes type. He couldn't really replace a Miguel Rojas immediately, because I think Miguel Rojas right now, one, provides leadership on the positional player's side. Also, I think is the insurance policy for Gavin Lux right now, in case there is an injury, or in case Gavin Lux doesn't do well and they need to find some sort of option. Miguel Rojas, you can comfortably say, fills into that spot. Also, could be a late inning type of substitution that the Dodgers rely upon a lot. So Manny Margot, I think he's one of those guys who started to get acclimated, started to get comfortable to this club, but the Dodgers just decided that they wanted to bring back Kike Hernandez, and Manny Margot was the odd man out once they made that decision, and once Kike Hernandez wanted to come back, which it seemed like Kike always wanted to come back to this club. Craig Osterberg says the Dodgers have too many catchers in the minors. Have to give them a chance or trade them. I think that's a really good point. They do have a lot of good catchers. We know about the big three: Diego Cartaya, Dalton Rushing, Tyrone Lorenzo. There's a lot of really good, talented other catchers in this organization. Griffin Lockwood Powell, Yainer Fernandez were on the Loons the past season. Jesus Scalise, Simon Reed, all of these different guys, all the catchers, Frank Rodriguez, Max Hewitt, Hunter Fiducia, all of these guys are incredibly good, solid catchers, prospects, especially the big three that we talked about. Guys that you expect and anticipate to be called up at some point to the major leagues. A large portion of those guys are not ready for big league baseball yet, though. And this is not something to say these guys aren't talented. These guys aren't great hitters, great prospects, great catchers already. They still need a lot of time to work in the minor leagues. Diego Cartaya really struggled this past season in Double-A Tulsa, and I don't think you can just see all of those struggles and say, yep, it's ready for you to be called up to the big leagues. He's still young. He's still got all of the talent in the world, and I expect him to do well going forward in the future. He's not ready quite yet. And Dalton Rushing and Tyrone Lorenzo haven't seen any baseball above high A. Dalton Rushing spent all of last season in high A, and I think performed incredibly well, 146 WRC plus. We saw him deal with injuries, yet battle through them, and still put up incredible numbers this past season. Tyrone Lorenzo is kind of one of those gems in the system that you didn't anticipate going into the season, yet he started to really perform this past season. Both of those guys aren't ready quite yet. The one catcher who is major league ready is Hunter Fiducia. And I think the real question with Hunter Fiducia is with him, and I'm sure he would be fighting for should be fighting for every single opportunity he's going to get at the big league level. Right now, it is a good battle between Austin Barnes and Hunter Fiducia for that backup catcher role. And I think that's a really good, unique battle that is taking place. Hunter Fiducia has had a lot of talent. He showed last year that he was able to produce offensively, has some really good defensive skills, and Austin Barnes really struggled. Austin Barnes provides that leadership. He provides some defensive comfortability with a lot of these pitchers. I think the easy decision for the Dodgers would be to stay with a Austin Barnes, because I think the real question is, how are you going to develop a Hunter Fiducia if he's only going to start at most 2 days a week? Is that going to be the best for his development? And it very well could be. You could argue that Hunter Fiducia, for the sake of him just getting up to the big leagues, because he's getting up there in age, that would be the best thing for him, because he needs to see major league pitching at some point. This is a question that the Dodgers are going to have to answer. They have Austin Barnes under contract, in which case, if they want to move on for him, they would have to release him, designate him for assignment, and then they would call up a Hunter Fiducia. I think right now Hunter Fiducia is that backup catcher that is on the 40-man roster who is staying down in Oklahoma City in case there is any type of injury that takes place. And I know that probably sucks right now for Hunter Fiducia. There's still a lot of time. There's still a lot of opportunity. He would be the guy that is closer to big league ready, that would be waiting for that opportunity. The other guys, Diego Cartaya, Dalton Rushing, Tyrone Lorenzo, Jesus Scalise, Simon Reed, Griffin Lockwood Powell, Yainer Fernandez, all of these different catchers, they're still growing, they're still developing, and eventually it will become to a point where you have too many catchers where you need to decide which one you want to have for the Dodgers and which ones you need to move on to. I hope it doesn't come too late in their development where they've held them down in the minor leagues too long to where they make that decision. But they still have some time with a lot of these younger, good, talented prospects. But I think that's a really good point. Eventually, they're going to have to make some sort of trade, Craig Osterberg, with a lot of these catchers. And they're going to have to decide, is Austin Barnes going to be the answer, or is it going to be Hunter Fiducia? Because it can't be something where Austin Barnes hits 100 again at the major league level. I don't think that is acceptable for him, especially because he only has a 1 year, $3.5 million contract. That is something that the Dodgers could move on from. And then they could call up a Hunter Fiducia. Or if you really don't want to call up a Hunter Fiducia, you can call up one of these journeyman catchers that is going to have some time, get some experience at the minor league level in Oklahoma City, like a Chris Okcdodgers, or somebody of that type of player. So the question is, who and opportunity for a lot of these guys. Hunter Fiducia deserves an opportunity at some point. Are the Dodgers willing to move on from Austin Barnes right now is the real question, and we'll see that battle continue to play out through spring training. So we'll go ahead and move on to Harley Anderson, who says, it hurts to see Barnes hit. He just took the third strike right down the middle and walk off with his head down. Sad. It is pretty sad to see Austin Barnes really struggle. And I think I don't know exactly how to say that, but talking about how Kershaw really relied upon Austin Barnes, but he is not going to be here for quite a bit of the season. I think that's a really good point and something where the Dodgers could take a step back and say, you have Yoshinobu Yamamoto, you have Tyler Glass now, you have a lot of new faces, a lot of younger guys, Bobby Miller, you have Emmett Sheehan coming up, you have a lot of good, talented younger guys that are coming up. Excuse me for just a sec. Oh man, I was about to sneeze right there, but I didn't end up sneezing. It could be something where this might be the good and best opportunity to move on from Austin Barnes, especially when he might have to wait until September, August, some of that, one of those time frames before Clayton Kershaw is ready. And we know how Austin Barnes has that great connection with Clayton Kershaw with him on the mound. So really good point. Ilashiva, Hosey is looking really good. Yeah, Cody Hosey is looking really good right now. He is one of those guys, first round pick for the Dodgers. A lot of people have given up on Cody Hosey, and not for an irrational reason. It's because Cody Hosey, he has been dealing with a lot of injuries, but when he has been healthy, not sugarcoating it, he hasn't performed really well. So he spent a lot of time at Double-A Tulsa, and he's really trying to find a lot of his groove, and I think he's starting to find a little bit of his swing, and especially if he's able to stay quite a bit healthy, I think we could see a lot out of Cody Hosey, and I'm still excited for some of the potential that Cody Hosey has. So let me go ahead and bring up some of the notes that I have, because I took some notes on Cody Hosey quite a bit ago. So last season in 2023, had a 79 WRC plus. He walked at about a 6.8% with an 18.5 strikeout percentage with a 145 ISO. So a little bit below average with the walk percentage. He struck out a little bit below average, so that's really good. And his ISO was right around league average, a little bit below league average on BABIP. But some of the key points, similar to looking at a Noah Miller who just came to the Dodgers organization, who we mentioned had a 126 WRC plus in August and September, really showed a lot of signs and a lot of progress during the last month of the season. Cody Hosey showed a lot July through September for Tulsa when he started to get healthy, when he started to get a lot of his swing back. He hit 249, 317, 424, which is equal to a 93 WRC plus. Might not sound outstanding. It is a significant increase than his 79 WRC plus. A little bit more of an upgrade. He was striking out less. He was walking more. He had a 175 ISO. And here's really the key part. That came with a 266 batting average on balls in play, which means there is potentially more room to grow in that aspect. And with the defensive prowess that Cody Hosey has, we can rely on Cody Hosey being defensive rock at third base. It is that offensive tools and the ability to stay healthy. If he continues on this track and gets a little bit more to being a league average WRC plus type of player, league average offensive component, we could start relying a little bit more on Cody Hosey. Not saying that he's going to be the guy, not saying that he's going to make his major league debut, but he might turn heads and say, hey, maybe we shouldn't give up on Cody Hosey quite yet. Don't give up on these guys completely just because they're dealing with injuries or just because we saw a glimpse of struggle. Not every player's journey to the big leagues is linear. They're going to have different paths. They're going to have different ways of their going up into the big leagues. And so watch out for Cody Hosey. I'm excited that he's getting some success at spring training. I hope that continues into the affiliate ball, and I'm excited to see what he's able to do going forward. So Nando, thank you very much for joining. I know Casey really enjoys having you here. I, of course, having you here as well. Said, who's the kid the Dodgers got from Margot? I talked about that a little bit earlier. Noah Miller, talked about him. His shortstop played a lot for the Cedar Rapids Colonels. So if you get a chance, go back and watch that section of the program where I do a little bit more of a deep dive into Noah Miller, which I know I'm a little bit behind on the chat. I usually am. Hopefully there isn't any sort of trade or any sort of Dodgers off-season move that has happened since I've been live, but there's a lot of comments to go to, and I've got a lot to say, so we'll get through all of these. Tommy Price, thank you very much for joining. Pages and Ramos are both looking pretty good. Yes, this is what I love about spring training, is we get a glimpse at some of the future of the Dodgers, and the Dodgers fan base in general gets a glimpse of just how talented the guys are in this system. And some of the guys that you've got to see showcased really heavily are Andy Pages and Jose Ramos. Andy Pages is a really talented outfielder. I've talked about him extensively. I think he is the future right fielder of the Dodgers in 2025, and potentially, given how he's able to come back this season, I think he could potentially have an impact and will be fighting for a spot this season for the Dodgers late in the season, potentially making a postseason impact. I talked about the moment that he had September 12th, 2021, when the Loons were down to their final out, really on the brink of elimination from the playoffs. And with 2 runners on, down by 2, Andy Pages hits a home run, his second home run of the season, an inning after he gets hit by the pitch. And he shows that he is a clutch hitter that his team can rely upon when they need him the most. He puts up great numbers offensively. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's got incredible power, great discipline, not a ton of strikeouts. He's got all of the unique packages that you look for in an outfielder, somebody that you could rely upon in the future. And I'm glad to see him having some success early in spring training. A little bit of swing and miss, but I think that's a little bit of the rust that is coming off, as he didn't play a good portion of last season with the injury. So have some patience with Andy Pages, but he's certainly performing just as Jose Ramos is. Man, how cool was him hitting that home run during spring training the other day? How cool was that? That went pretty far, and that showed you just a little bit of a glimpse of the power that Casey and I have talked about, because I know he can hit a home run a lot further than that. That is just a little bit of a glimpse of his power. He is somebody who's on a similar trajectory as Andy Pages. Doesn't walk as much, strikes out a little bit more, so there's a little bit of fine-tuning. He can play center field. He's got a good arm in the outfield. He's got another cannon like Andy Pages. He's got a lot of really good, solid tools. It is about putting them together and putting them more consistently together. And I think that was similar to what Andy did when he joined Tulsa in 2022. He went from a 150 WRC plus, meaning 50% above league average offensive player, to more of a 100 WRC plus type of player. In 2023, Jose Ramos went from a 130 WRC plus, 125 WRC plus player to a 97 WRC plus type of player. I think you could see a similar rebound that Andy Pages started to show early in Tulsa in 2023, where he started to jump back up to the 130 140s, 30% better, 40% better than league average. I think you could see a similar jump to Jose Ramos this season if he spends time in Double-A Tulsa, or if he jumps, they move him straight up to Oklahoma City, which I think he's going to spend a lot of time in Oklahoma City. I think you're going to see a lot of his skill set on display. You got to see it in the World Baseball Classic last season for his home country of Panama, which he played a lot, including had, I believe, a diving catch during that series, so go check that out. I'm excited to see what Andy Pages, Jose Ramos are able to do, and they're fighting for a spot on this roster in the future. The only outfielder that's under contract next season is James Outman. And that's not including Chris Taylor, who I'm including in that utility player type role. He's under contract as well. My point is there's going to be outfield competition spots ready, and so the Dodgers are going to have to provide opportunity probably for Miguel Vargas and Andy Pages at first to take those spots into next season, because if they can take those spots, then you can go out and spend. If you want another good elite starting pitcher, you can spend for an elite starting pitcher if you don't want to pay an outfielder. If you want to go get a shortstop on the free agent market, you can go out and get a shortstop. This creates avenues. Having these players from the farm system provides flexibility for your organization to make the necessary moves to put your team over the top, and provides you with incredibly valuable pieces. Like, how valuable is James Outman and Bobby Miller to this club and organization? They mean a lot, and players like an Andy Pages or Jose Ramos, if they come and are able to establish themselves at the big league level, I think would make a big impact. And I'm excited to see what they're able to do in for the Dodgers in spring training. I'm excited to see everyone get a look at them and see how they're able to perform, similar to how you're seeing some of the other players to be able to perform. We saw a Juan Murillo come in and show that electric fastball. We got to see a Jack Dreyer. How impressive was Jack Dreyer towards the end of the game the other day? He was really impressive. We got to see Michael Hobbs, go out and pitch really good relief innings. Benoni Robles got to go into a game. We get to see John Rooney and Alec Gamboa, who I know Casey continues to talk about because they deserve opportunities. They had 2 more scoreless innings today during the spring training game, and really showed a lot. And they're continuing to fight for their big league opportunities. You got to see Taylor Young, TY, who, if you haven't read it already, I actually wrote an article for him about 2 months ago. Taylor Young had the best stolen base season for a Dodgers affiliate since at least 2006, which is where the database on Fangraphs has. And the reason why I say that is he didn't just steal 56 bases, which D. Gordon stole 73 in 2009, I believe. He stole 56 bases and was only caught 5 different times, which means he was stealing a lot and efficiently, which is what if you look at Fangraphs, they have a statistic, not just stolen bases, but weighted stolen bases, stolen bases. That is a statistical tool that tries to take into account both the frequency and efficiency, and Taylor Young was doing both of those. We got to see him have a couple of hits during the game today, and I expect a lot more from Taylor Young going forward. He's not the biggest guy. He's not the tallest guy. He might not have the most power, but nobody has better baseball instincts than that kid. And he was the leader of the Great Lakes Loons this past season. Definitely somebody to keep an eye out for with spring training. Some of the fun things that we get to see through the course of spring training. So let's go back into the comments. I know I'm incredibly behind. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for joining here. Dodgers Dogs. My name's Austin Brubaker, and I'm excited to be here with you guys. Roy Strada, thank you very much for joining, interacting with Craig. Peter Jacob, thank you very much for joining as well. Here, Dodgers Dogs, we're normally live Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, usually at 5 or 6 o'clock Pacific. Tonight is the start of potentially something brand new, Monday Night Live here on Dodgers Dogs, which I will be a participant, or I'll be the showrunner here instead of a co-host. Casey will be joining me again live Wednesday night in the big town, as he would say. So we're excited for that. Ray Estrada, we will probably wait for a trade deadline for a trade for pitching, or sooner if more pitchers have setbacks. I think that's a really good trade. I think that's where I'm at as well. You want to see how your club is shaping out. The same club that will leave Camelback Ranch and go to Korea, or go to Los Angeles and be on the opening day roster, will not be the same club that you will have at the trade deadline. The question is, what is the club going to look like? How is the health going to do? And what do you need to do to make your club as best as they possibly can? This organization has a ton of talent, especially in the system and at the major league level as well. So you don't have to make a move right now, and you can still feel comfortable about making the postseason. You can still feel comfortable about winning the National League West, which is not a gimme, but the Dodgers have the best talent to where they should win. They don't have to make a move immediately. They can be a wait and see, and if some very pressing need pops up, then you can use the incredible depth that you have in this organization and get exactly what you need without having to trade away all of your future, which is not something that Andrew Friedman is interested in doing. Nando, thank you for joining. Dodgers never really showed Margot any love, so you could tell he was going to get moved. I think a lot of the players in the organization were accustomed. They were ready for Manny Margot to be part of this team. Yet I think the Dodgers felt more comfortable and ready for a Kike Hernandez type of reunion. And I think they're a little bit more comfortable with a little bit more of a known commodity, somebody that is well acclimated to the clubhouse. And I think that is the direction that the Dodgers decided and ultimately ended up going. They ended up going and getting a Kike Hernandez, and then Manny Margot just happened to be the odd man out. So I think the Dodgers were ready for him to be a part of this club. I was certainly ready for him to be a Dodger and started getting ready for him to be in this role. Yet they wanted to have Kike Hernandez over him. So that was the decision for that. So we're going to go ahead and move on to some other comments. One-Eyed Dragon says, go Ohtani and the other Dodgers. And for a lot of Dodgers fans, that seems to be the inclination, especially because tomorrow, if the reports are true, which I'm assuming that nothing has changed since I went live, Shohei Ohtani is going to have his first spring training game for the Dodgers. He will be live in action. You'll be able to see Shohei Ohtani wear the Dodgers uniform, not just wear a Dodgers uniform, wear a Dodgers uniform in game and see him go and just be a great performer. One of the best baseball players, most talented baseball players of all time, and very well could be one of the best baseball players, if not the greatest baseball player of all time, is wearing a Dodgers uniform and will be playing for the Dodgers tomorrow. So I'm really excited to see what he's able to do. There's a lot more guys than just Shohei Ohtani, a lot of guys that are talented. He is certainly the headliner and is going to bring a ton of buzz, a ton of excitement. Him going tomorrow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto going on Wednesday. How can you not be excited about this? How can you not be excited about Dodgers baseball? This is incredible. It feels like a dream, honestly, with all the excitement, all of the amount of talent this organization continues to have. It is unreal. And tomorrow we get to witness Shohei Ohtani be a Dodger for the first time. Wednesday, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. It is really cool. Chuck, thank you very much for joining. Dodgers spent a lot of money, major leaguer and a good prospect to open up a 40-man roster spot for Kike. I'm all in on Kike, though. Yeah, I think Kike is going to be really good. It did cost the Dodgers something. I think Doncon is going to be a good, solid player, and I think he's going to continue this journey through Minnesota's organization. And Margot, I think, is going to be a solid, if not spectacular. I don't think he's going to be a spectacular, but I think he's going to be a solid contributor to the Minnesota Twins. But I think the Dodgers preferred and ultimately made the decision with Kike Hernandez. Kike always preferred to go with the Dodgers, but that was the decision that they decided to make. And the Dodgers got a good, solid shortstop prospect and Noah Miller, who is either going to start in high A or double A. Really good defensive skills, and during the last month and a half of the season, really started to show stuff offensively to where he was batting before Emmanuel Rodriguez and Kalai Rosario in that great Cedar Rapids Eternal lineup. Denard, thank you very much for joining. Casey is out busy fishing. He is not busy fishing right now. He is busy though tonight, and he sends his regards and thanks you for joining here on Dodgers Dawgs. He will be back Wednesday night. It is just me. As you can see, the studio is not set and complete. We're at my home studio right now, but I'm really excited to be here live Dodgers Dawgs here. Justin Lamas, yeah, probably bullpen because they're set on hitters as far as addition that the Dodgers could make in the future. That seems to be the most likely scenario in what a lot of organizations do. I still really like the idea of going to get a Tanner Scott because he's one of those guys who can get left-handed relief hitters or left-handed hitters out. Lefty, really solid, really reliable. Only 1 year of control. Marlins, I don't know exactly what their plan is. Are they going to be competitive? We will have to wait and see if they go ahead and go ahead and decide to make that trade, or if they decide to wait. But that seems to be the most likely scenario, is they would go after him. Nando 390, Freeman is not sold on Lux. I think they are comfortable with giving Gavin Lux, the opportunity to play shortstop at least early in the season. I think the backup plan for the Dodgers has and will continue to be Willy Adames from the Milwaukee Brewers. Obviously, you have guys in-house, Miguel Rojas and Chris Taylor, that can play shortstop, but the external option, or the option from another organization, is a Willy Adames, who only has 1 year of control, who you can for sure know that he can play shortstop and provides a little bit of offensive upside as well. I think with the Dodgers right now, they want to know if Gavin Lux can be the shortstop of the future for this club. Can he play shortstop reliably, consistently? Because if you go out and get a Willy Adames right now, you won't know that answer until 2025, in which case we're having this exact same discussion. Is Gavin Lux going to be a shortstop, good, reliable shortstop of the future? If you take this early part of the season, I know Gavin Lux, maybe he's not 100% healed and ready to go. I think he is healthy, ready to go for the start, but maybe there's a little bit of concern about that. But I think early in the season, you will at least start to have an answer to the question, which you're going to have to find out at some point, unless you want to spend really big money on a shortstop with all of the other financial commitments that you have on this club. Is Gavin Lux, or can Gavin Lux be the answer at shortstop? You want to know that for this season as well as for 2025. So I think early in the season is going to be crucial. You're going to get a look to see how Gavin Lux is able to do. And if he's not able to do it, then you have an answer not just for this season, but also for 2025, to where if you need to sign Willy Adames long-term, if you want to go and trade for a shortstop, or if you want to go and sign a different shortstop, at least you have an answer to that question. If you go ahead and make the trade for Willy Adames now, let's say you move Mookie Betts back to the outfield, Gavin Lux plays second base. One, you're gonna have to find room for Gavin Lux right now, or find room on this roster for them to take a spot right now. But also, you wouldn't have the answer, and you'd have to wait until 2025. Well, maybe Gavin Lux is the shortstop of the future then. You need to have the answer to that question right now. I don't think Friedman is sold. I don't think anybody is sold because they haven't seen it consistently at the big league level. I think we will have answers early in this season, or at least have an idea of whether he is and can be the shortstop in the future, because the worst thing that can happen is the answer is no, in which case you can make adjustments to that. But if the answer is yes, that is incredibly valuable for the Dodgers, for this organization, because shortstops are incredibly hard to find and they are very expensive. And with having financial commitments to Shohei Ohtani, to Mookie Betts, yes, I know Shohei Ohtani is just $2 million, but there is a large deferred salary payment that the Dodgers are going to have to pay at some point. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow. A lot of these guys are expensive pieces that the Dodgers have. You can't just make your team out of free agency. That is not sustainable for these organizations to spend that kind of money, even though the Dodgers have spent over $1 billion through this free agency. That is not sustainable. And I think the Dodgers need to have an answer on Gavin Lux right now this season. And I'm sure we'll be able to see that during this upcoming season and at least have an answer to that question. I think that's going to be something that's going to be really valuable. we'll go ahead and go through some of these comments quick. I know you guys have been joining me quite a bit. We've been live since right around the end of workday, right around 4:50 Pacific. So we'll go on here for another 10 or 15 minutes or so, however long it takes to get through a lot of these comments. And I'll try to answer these a little bit rapid fire. Again, thank you guys for joining here. Dodgers Dawgs, we will be live again Wednesday night at 6 o'clock Pacific. Casey will be rejoining me then. So we're going to go to Deuce. Thank you very much for joining us. Too many culture guys blocking legit prospects. Need to move away from guys who are clubhouse guys. It hasn't worked in the postseason. I think, Deuce, you are honestly onto something that is and can be pretty concerning if you want to look at it, take a step back from the excitement of Kike Hernandez being a part of this team, being a part of this club, is the way the Dodgers have operated and the way the Dodgers have done stuff recently hasn't worked out in the postseason. Why is that? And I think one of the reasons why you could point to a wide variety of different reasons. Last year, pitching just fell apart and you didn't seem to have pitching. And then in 2022, you can do a wide variety of different reasons for that. Is the culture a little bit of an issue if you're talking about the Dodgers and having the necessary guts, that elimination style mindset? Is it a little bit to go and be happy type of players on this club? And is that a real concern with bringing in a Kike Hernandez, bringing in a relic, somebody who has been a part of the Dodgers and their previous pushes during the postseason that have not performed well? I think that is something that can be a cause of concern, especially because you brought back a lot of those guys. There's a lot of new faces. There's a lot of returning faces. Is there a good balance right now, or do you need to turn the page into the Shohei Ohtani era? It seems that the Dodgers are turning that page, but they're holding on to a couple of the pages from the previous era. Perhaps that's the right decision. Perhaps this is the right moves, and he has the necessary postseason experience to be successful to move on. We will have to wait and see, but your concern absolutely is valid. One-Eyed Dragon says, will May make it to June? I don't know exactly when Dustin May is going to be able to make it onto the roster. Maybe July, maybe August, maybe September. I don't know the time frame with Dustin May. It's going to have to be a wait and see. And then it's about positioning him in the best way to keep him healthy when he is on the field, when he is healthy. He has some of the nastiest stuff out there. He just hasn't been able to stay on the field. I hope he's able to find a way to go out there and stay on the field. Thank you for joining us, Daniel Berry Sports Highlight. I know he joins quite a bit here, so thank you very much for joining. Craig, what do you expect Ohtani to do tomorrow? I think a homer if they pitch to him. That is a really good question. It's hard to predict what Shohei Ohtani is going to be able to do. I had the privilege, and actually the Domino was with me on their way to our road trip that we did this past season. I got to see the Angels play in Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. That was part of the road trip. I got to go see the Tulsadrillers down in Springfield, Missouri. But I got to see Shohei Ohtani play in that game. And in that, he had, I believe, an opposite field. I can't remember if it was a double or a single. So I'll go ahead and predict that Shohei Ohtani is going to hit one in the opposite field. He's going to hit, I'll go ahead and say a double to the opposite field. That'll be my prediction for Shohei Ohtani because I was able to see that from the upper deck in Kauffman Stadium. Nando 390. Stone, Vargas, Grove, Cartaya for Luzardo. I think that's a really interesting idea. Jesus Luzardo, somebody that I've talked about, did a hot take about him quite a bit, and he is a really good, talented, left-handed starting pitcher. Somebody who, if Walker Buehler's not able to come back and be healthy, you could look to a Jesus Luzardo as that trade piece, especially if the Marlins are going to be not super competitive or are going to be willing to move on from some other pieces. They have a lot of pitching depth. They have a lot of left-handed pitching depth. And so are you willing to move on from Stone, Vargas, Grove, Cartaya? I think the real question is that the type of package that the Marlins will look to trade for? Or are they going to be looking for guys that specifically meet some of their needs? I think Miguel Vargas could fit into that equation. I think they'd be looking for a good upstart catcher, and they have a couple of good, talented starting pitchers. I think that is close to what they would need. I'm going to guess that they probably would want a Rushing over a Cartaya or a Tyrone Lorenzo over a Cartaya. And maybe do they want a Kyle Hurt back? Do they want an Emmett Sheehan? I'm going to guess they might push for some of those names. Then it's the back and forth between the Dodgers and the Marlins. I don't think the Dodgers make this move immediately. I think they have to wait and see where the holes arrive to where they can use some of those trade pieces to go get other areas in need, because you don't want to make all of these trade pieces and then something crucial that you absolutely need to make, like go get a catcher. If you absolutely need to get a catcher, pops up and you're unable to make that move. So I think that is a really good idea. Something we'll have to wait and see closer to the trade deadline if that is a need or if that is a move that the Dodgers should do. Denard, with Margot gone, it should open up an outfield spot for Pages, Ramos, or Vargas. I don't think it opens up a spot immediately this season because Kike Hernandez is going to take the role that Manny Margot was going to take this upcoming season. But you could see in the future, Pages, Ramos, or Vargas, it's going to be fierce competition, good, healthy competition for those guys to continue to fight for opportunities in the future for the 2025 Dodgers. And for when there's an injury that occurs, which there will be injuries. I hope that there's not injuries, but that's not a reality. There will be injuries. Who gets a first man up? I would expect Miguel Vargas. Andy Pages and Jose Ramos could have something to say about that if they continue to perform. So something that keep an eye on as well. Showtime LA. Austin, how concerned are you about Buehler's velo? He said he's 92-94 right now. He will face live hitters tomorrow. He also said that he gets up on the mound. Adrenaline makes his velo go up 3 to 4 miles per hour. That is something that definitely should be something it's tough to see with Walker Buehler right now because obviously the velo being 92-94 is not exactly where you want it. And we've seen players with decreased velos, some great pitchers in the past whose velocity has been deteriorating, not be able to perform to the same level that they had. We saw what happened with Noah Syndergaard last season. I'm not saying that Walker Buehler is going to be that. I'm not saying that Walker Buehler is lying when he's saying that it goes up 3 to 4 miles an hour because that adrenaline is real. And I'm sure that takes over and fuels Walker Buehler. If it continues to be 92-94 as opposed to 97-98, and as we get further along to him coming back, that's when there can be a little bit of cause concern. So it is something that I'm looking out for. I'm a little bit concerned about it. I'm not alarmed. I'm not freaking out quite yet. Something to keep an eye out for. As we continue, Hep C, thank you very much for joining. Hepatitis, see you later. Dodgers replacing Buehler with Sasaki next season. I think that is something that could definitely happen. Look out for Roki Sasaki. I know Mike, our moderator, joins us here on Dodgers Dawgs sometimes. Would definitely preach Roki Sasaki and the talent that he has, and I think the Dodgers are in a good position to reach out to him. Damino says, happy to be here for the first ever live stream for Disney World. That is just a reference to the place over here, because I got some pretty cool stuff around here, including a bunch off screen, a whole bunch of different baseballs from the places I've visited, and some autographs around there as well. Mr. John Rod, thank you very much for joining. Austin, you are good. You are invited to the carne asada. I appreciate that. I don't know where it is, but I'm happy to take any sort of invitation that send my way. Roy Estrada, make Barnes a coach already. He has taken up a spot that could go to Pages or Rushing. I think Andy Pages has a 40-man roster spot. Obviously, Pages isn't a catcher, and he won't be a catcher unless some things change and he decides to switch to catching. You still need a backup catcher, and Dalton Rushing, for as good and as talented as he is, has not seen a single pitch above Double-A, so I think he's going to need to have at least a good chunk of time in Tulsa, some in Oklahoma City as well before he's ready. So right now, with the time frame that Dalton Rushing is on, I don't think he's ready, and I don't think Diego Cartaya is quite ready as well. The answer would be a Hunter Fiducia. Is Hunter Fiducia better than an Austin Barnes? And if you believe so, I think that is the guy that you would make that push to replace an Austin Barnes. CB, first time catching the live stream. Austin, you're killing it so far. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining. Also states Noah Miller is a solid defender, but leaves much to desire with the bat. I think that is a little bit of cause concern for Noah Miller. These guys are continuing to work through stuff. But as I alluded to earlier and pointed out earlier in the season, look at his numbers August through the end of the season as September. 126 WRC plus, 14% walk percentage, and less than 20% strikeout percentage. Hit for some power, hit 11 doubles, couple of home runs, a triple. He started to turn it on late in the season, so be on the lookout for Noah Miller as he continues to progress. The defense is there. His offense started to click, and he became a reliable piece for the Midwest League champion Cedar Rapids Colonels, who defeated my Great Lakes Loons in the Midwest League Championship. So continuing on here, Justin Lama is replacing Bueller with Freed or Burns if Sasaki is not posted. There are a lot of different options. Corbin Burns, a free agent. Max Fried as a free agent. There are different options that could happen if the Dodgers decide to move on from Walker Bueller next season, which is why you want guys like Andy Pages, Gavin Lux to stick, because then you can have the money, the financial flexibility to go out and get a Corbin Burns or a Max Fried during next offseason to just fortify that rotation. So continue to be a lookout and continue to root for these guys as they come up through this organization. Damino, Mother Nature robbed Robo in that series. Yeah, it absolutely did during the Midwest League Championship. Justin Robleski, Dodgers prospect, left-handed pitcher, was dominating the Cedar Rapids Colonels, and it's an absolute shame that his outing was cut down to 4 innings. I know he was incredibly frustrated, but that is because he was destroying the Colonels, one of, if not the best lineup in the Midwest League. He was dominating that, and if Robo goes out and gives them 6-7 innings, the Loons win the series. I have no doubt about that. Could be a little bit biased, though, but right, that is what I'm saying right now, as we have a couple of other questions that we're going to get to before we wrap it up tonight. Gregory, what kind of ERA do you expect Bobby Miller to average this season? Really good question with Bobby Miller. He came up and he was one of those younger guys that the Dodgers had to rely upon, perhaps earlier than what they were expected to, and he came out and shoved. He showed that electric fastball, the great breaking stuff. I would expect Bobby Miller, I don't know if you're expecting a little bit more of a sophomore slump type of season. I think he's going to get a lot of innings. I think he's going to be a reliable, and I still think he has ace level potential. I see a lot of Walker Bueller in him, just like I saw a lot of Walker Bueller in him opening day 2021. With his ERA, you might be able to expect something maybe in the mid threes, maybe a 3.5, maybe closer to a 3.8, which might sound a little bit disappointing, but I think he's going to throw that electric stuff. I think he's going to continue to establish himself as a major league caliber starting pitcher, and I think he's going to flash even more of that ace level stuff. And then upcoming during one of these seasons, I think he's going to start getting into the lower threes ERA because he has all the talent to do so. And so be on the lookout for Bobby Miller. It already seems like he's been in the rotation for a long time, and we can rely on Bobby Miller. Yet it was just last year that he started to join this rotation. So could be a little bit more of a sophomore slump. I don't anticipate that, and I expect the energy and the excitement from him, and I'm excited to see what he's able to do. Definitely some talk about Walker Bueller, whether he's going to be coming back, what he's going to be able to do. Hepatitis see it later. River Ryan is going to be up at some point this season. He's nasty, and Fangraphs has him as the 19th overall prospect in baseball. Yes, this is something to keep in mind when you're looking at all of these different lists. All of these different lists have different analysis on these type of players, and some of them have Jose De Paula as the top-rated prospects. Others have guys like Dalton Rushing. Fangraphs loves River Ryan, and for good reason, because his stuff is nasty. A lot of the metrics behind his stuff is incredible. A converted position player came over from the Matt Beatty type trade. He is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I'm excited to see what he's able to do. He's not on the 40-man roster yet. However, he will have to be after this season in order to be protected from the Rule 5 draft. So similar to what happened to Kyle Hurt this past season, where he was just too good, too talented not to be on the 40-man roster. They had to add him to the 40-man roster, so might as well do it in September. Get him a call up to the major leagues and allow him to be able to perform. I think you could see something similar with a River Ryan. Damino says, Austin, do you think they should have got McCusker instead? And that is a reference to the Carson McCusker, who in Game 1 of the Midwest League Championship broke my heart a little bit with the home run in the 9th inning. That I'm going to move on from that comment. And to think we only gave up for River Ryan is Matt Beatty. That is absolutely correct. Daryl Jackson, thank you very much for joining. Let me go ahead and scroll back up because I lost that comment right here. Let's see. We'll go ahead and give a couple of these other comments right here. He says the farm system has the next group of great players. They certainly have a lot of great players on this club, and a lot of guys that you're seeing be call up through this club, through this organization, that are showing a lot of talent. Carlos Garcia is excited about Austin Gauthier. I'm excited about Austin Gauthier as well. I actually wrote an article about Austin Gauthier, how he was able to do something that only 40, take that back, only 20 other players since 2006 in the minor league level have done. 150 WRC plus, more walks than strikeouts in a large 500 plate appearance sample size. That has a huge correlation with guys who have made the big leagues and better odds of becoming an all-star quality player. You add that to his positional versatility, that makes him an incredibly elite type of prospect and somebody to be very excited about for Austin Gauthier going forward. And I'm excited to see him continue on right now. How's Michael Busch doing in spring training with the Cubbies? I haven't seen Michael Busch play a whole lot with the Cubs yet. I have seen other guys succeed. Yorbit Vivas is killing it with the Yankees right now. There's been other guys, Jair Camargo with the Minnesota Twins, name that you might not remember, but was with part of this organization. He's doing really well. He's on the 40-man roster fighting for a spot. Minnesota, so a little bit more Dodgers-Twins connection. There is a lot of talented players that are succeeding right now in other organizations that weren't fits within this Dodgers club right now. I know Eddie Slaynard had a couple of hits recently, or had a hit. Well, Johnny DeLuca was doing an interview on air. A lot of really cool names that you want to be rooting for. This Dodgers club still has a ton of talent, and you want to see each one of these guys succeed. So a lot of good, a lot of fun things. Where will Austin Gauthier start? AA or AAA? He ended the season, I believe, I think he might have spent the postseason with AAA. If not, I expect Austin Gauthier to get a majority of his reps in AAA. He performed too well in AA. He might start there, but I think Taylor Young and Alex Freeland and I think there's going to be a lot of position player prospects that are going to be coming up in Tulsa, to where Austin Gauthier is going to see a lot of time in AAA, to where I think he's going to start to succeed. So I think it's a lot of fun stuff coming up, as I think that is going to do it here. I know there's a lot of comments that I wasn't able to get to tonight. That's because I was able to be here on Dodgers Dogs by myself. I was really fun. I'm excited for this show going forward Monday nights. I don't know if it will continue to go next week. I'll have to base it on my availability, but we will be back here Wednesday night. Casey will be back. I won't have to talk for a good hour and a half. My voice, I'm sure, it's starting to lose it a little bit. I need a little bit more water. Thank you all for joining. It's been a great show. Kike Hernandez is a Dodger. Manuel Margot is a Minnesota Twin. Dodgers continue to make moves, and it continues to be a great fun off season. So thank you very much for joining. And I would like to say, first off, thank you very much. Go Dodgers and go Loons. Thank you guys. Wednesday night, back here, Dodgers Daily.